Amber, Underground. Chapter 1 of the story of the Giantslayer Endeavor. The Giantslayer Endeavor was an absolutely insane attempt to set the world record for the most amount of material ever played in the shortest amount of time. And we played 292 hours in 6 months. An entire adventure path in 6 marathons, one every 4 weeks. It was, I could use the word brazen. Irresponsible comes to mind. It was totally nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And it's a great story. So let's start from the beginning. We went to Gen Con in the summer of 2014. We had just played the Emerald Spire project, and that's going to be its own story. We just played the Emerald Spire project, and we actually documented it. Took the whole thing to Gen Con, presented it at the Emerald Spire seminar, which had all the authors there from different levels of the dungeon, and Paizo, top Paizo staff and stuff were all there too. So we talked with Eric Mona and Jason Bullman and Adam Daigle and Wes Schneider, and pretty much got the green light after showing them our data and our reports for wanting to put some stuff out there. If you want to share some of it, they said, we can do that for you. This is great stuff. And we said, okay. Went back, wrote up the Emerald Spire project in kind of a formal format. Did that in the fall of 2014. And we reached about November and we thought, hey, we sent this over. They liked it. Why don't we try for something bigger? Why don't we come up with something that'll really we'll just do one thing, get it out there, get it in front of the community, and that's it. Just kind of a shooting star. Like, we were totally cool with just being that. We had been a group since 1987. I mean, this thing, it's not going to stop. Order of the Amber Die goes on and on and on, whether or not we are in front of the public or not. It doesn't matter. We're going to play for us at home here and do our thing regardless. So we're like, let's just do this project, get it out there, leave it behind. Everybody can just have it for the future, and that'll be it. We really didn't have a whole lot of big plans after that because it was such a massive undertaking. I don't think anyone even thought we would be able to do anything after this. The damage to our personal lives, to our professional lives, this thing, trying to play that much. It's of course why Paizo gave us the green light to go ahead and go for it. They were like, if you can pull this thing off, 6 marathons, a module per marathon. I mean, a whole volume of an adventure path played in 4 days, and then you come back and do it essentially 26 days later. It's crazy. So we got ready for this thing throughout the winter, and we were set to play it was kind of late winter of 2015, and that's when Marathon 1 was coming up. So I'm going to tell you the story of Marathon 1 here today. And Marathon 1, wow, Battle of Blood March Hill. This was Giantslayer 1, right? And you're all first level. We're all going into this. We've got a whole lot of experience in D&D and some experience in Pathfinder, a few years. I mean, we're sharp on the rules. Obviously, this is OAD. But as far as playing professionally, no, we were not ready for what this was going to entail. But we could marathon, so we knew how to do this. We knew how to pull this thing off. And we got together, and then this first one was actually going to have to be upstate. So we were going to be driving an hour and 20 minutes north, staying at Mike Gentile's house. It was his condo that he had actually up there, and we were going to have to relocate. We do this quite often. We play wherever the game takes us, essentially, wherever we can get a 4-day slot somewhere where no one's around. And in fact, his girlfriend was around. She was actually in a different room, kind of just avoiding us and hanging out most of the weekend. And I think she dropped in once or twice. But that's pretty normal. We displace loved ones all the time. And so we drove up to Mike's, but it wasn't that easy. Right? So this huge winter storm hits. Massive winter storm. On top of that, I am so sick. This marathon, actually, if I were to say, of all the marathons in the history of the order. If people ask me, and they have, I've answered this before, if you guys have heard me talk on interviews about this, what's one of the worst ones you ever had? This is it. I was running a fever that was crazy high. I don't know what it was because it didn't matter. The show had to go on. No way was I going to turn down or lose this opportunity. Paizo gave us this. Groups would, come on. Everybody's dream is to get this kind of thing, right? And like you get out there, it's like, let's do this, right? We knew how many groups that play in, mom's kitchen or mom's basement, and you dream of this thing, right? We felt like everybody we knew growing up would have wanted this opportunity. We couldn't pass it up. I'm going to run this thing sick. My voice was gone. I mean, it was a mess. And of course, this massive winter storm hits. So we're loading up the car. The snow's piling up, and it's emergency travel only. We're not even supposed to be on the roads. And they said, you're going to get pulled over and stuff like that if you try to drive, especially on Interstate 295, which is what we got to take to go up there. And, it wasn't going to stop us. Come on, this is OAD. We have played through all kinds of stuff. There's no way weather is going to get in our way. When you hear these stories from Amber Underground, some of them. There's some crazy stuff that's gone down in marathons. And let me tell you, weather is not even close to some of the stuff that's tried to get in our way. So we were going to do this thing. We were absolutely going to go up there. We hopped in the car anyway. We loaded this thing up. We loaded up the my WRX STI with maps, miniatures, everything. And we flew up there. I mean, I could barely see Eric's car in front of me. Actually, I remember it was like wild how hard it was to see. Visibility was like, I don't know, 80 feet or something like that. And I was just glad to stay on the road. We did not get pulled over because, of course, the police knew that we were headed to the Giantslayer Endeavor Part 1, and there was no way they were going to get in front of trying to stop a world record from being set. There's no way anyone could do this. It was just like, you're never going to finish this project. There's no way it's going to happen. And honestly, Marathon 1 was so heavy that all of a sudden it dawned on us, like, oh my gosh, like what did we sign up for? And at the same time, it was just this incredible experience of knowing that you were going to do something that was going to outlast you and be part of the community forever. And that will drive you through it. And it will drive you through being sick. And it wasn't just that I was sick, guys. Once we got up there, oh no, more challenges to come. So we get up there, and Mike G has a issue with his heat going on, where I'm sleeping in a room with Alex he slept in a recliner. He gave me the floor, which had I think an air mattress. That room didn't have any heat actually. So, it was about, it was a nice cool 45 degrees in there at night, and, good times, right? So he threw a blanket on me one night. I remember I was just shivering in there. He got up and Alex took care of me. I was a mess because I was sick, so sick. And we ran this thing. We played our butts off. I think we were playing 15-hour days. We got to, was it Saturday morning? I want to say where I started to feel really panicked about how much we had left to play and whether or not we could finish it. It was going to be rough. It was going to be very rough. I remember the hours were really weighing on some of the guys. One of our guys had a concussion. He was coming in with a pretty serious concussion. He wasn't really supposed to be pushing it that hard, especially using his brain that much for a few days. But, the show had to go on, guys. This is it. I mean, it's what it is to be a professional role-playing group. If you want it, this is what it takes. So he played. It's like coming off the bench a little bit wounded. You go out, and sometimes you play hurt. That's it. And so I was playing hurt, and Ian was playing hurt. But we pulled this thing off. I remember Eric slept in the same 5-foot square area that he played in for the entire weekend. So he pretty much just stayed in this little zone in the back corner of where we had the table set up. It was a tight space. It's a very tight space. Not ideal by any means. The food we kind of messed up on a little bit. There was a deli that a couple players were raving about. And you know what? It's nice to eat local food. We love that. We got some great Italian food here in New Jersey. So by all means, let's eat from the deli, right? Well, let's not eat every meal from the deli. 4 days, 3 meals a day. Apparently somebody thought it was a good idea to just buy one massive, I guess we had a ham. We had a whole pig on the counter or something. I don't even know. It was just a massive ham, and we cut pieces off of it all weekend, and they got old by about 2 days in. But if you know some of our stories about food, I mean, this is not the worst thing. No way. Oh, please. I mean, this beats the ice cream sandwiches marathon by, by miles. But it was still rough. It was still rough eating the same meal every single day, and it got old, and we were getting worn down, and But hey, you had to push on. So come Sunday morning, we are way behind. I remember waking up Eric. I got up early in the morning, and I wanted to beat everybody awake. Eric was player captain. And as player captain, it's his job to manage the players. And a lot of times, player captain and GM have kind of like an admin conversation about what's going on, what needs to be done, especially project wise. And obviously, I can't reveal things to him, but at the adventure, but I can say things like, I woke him up in the morning. And I remember saying to him, "Marathon and Jeopardy." He was like looking at me, he was just like shaking him awake. No one else was awake. I'm like, shh, shh, shh. Marathon and Jeopardy. And what that meant was we have more material than we can play in the 15 or 18 hours left in the time that we have allotted to play this thing. And so we're going to have to get up and we're going to have to go into what we call Spire mode. And Spire mode, if you've heard us talk about it before, is about the fastest you can play while still role playing. We don't cut that. But when it comes to combat, actions, stuff like that, it is incredibly fast, incredibly efficient, and it's designed to cut through material very quickly. And as Eric liked to describe it, when you did encounter role playing parts, it was role playing with purpose. I think you kind of live by that anyway, but just let's provide a direction for our role playing. We're not just going to walk off and like meet the whole town. This is not that type of day. Let's figure out who we have to talk to, what we have to get. Let's get it done and get out. And so we woke up with Marathon and Jeopardy, but we did finish that thing. We played all day. I remember going late into Sunday night. I don't remember if I even went to work the next day. It was how late it was. And we had to get in the car and get back. Sterling had to get back to Maine that night, which really did not be until the next morning. And he had like a 7-8 hour ride back up north. And we drove back down. I probably rolled in like 3 a.m. or something like that. In the snow still, because ice and snow is everywhere. And we were digging ourselves out. It was so deep. I just remember it was so crazy. It was just, battling so much. It felt like what a struggle. The whole thing cannot be like this. The whole project cannot be like this. We had 2 character deaths, I think it was. It was at least that. We can go to the blog and check, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 character deaths. And that was hard on us too. It was like, yo, man, we had to give up. Oh, the hammer, the big like artifact you get, right? We had to give that up just to get a couple of our characters back. Some of the resurrections we needed if we wanted to keep the project going. And of course, giving that away, people are glad to take it. They took it to Last Wall actually, and it was like, yo, man, you're gonna give us this? And I want to say it was like the hammer that like unmakes giants. Pretty much, it was brutal, and you kind of needed it for later in the path too. But so much for that. And of all the paths that we lost, most of the artifacts. We'll get to those stories, but we lost most of those over time, and we just did not. We stumbled through this thing the whole way, but it is OAD, and we do find a way. And the players did it. They managed to get to Marathon 2. They completed this marathon. They knocked it out. We sent it over to Paizo. They were like, all right, you guys, they couldn't believe it. Like, this is happening. This is really happening. We'll put the blog up. Here we go. And Marathon 2 was now on the books.